Alright guys, ffvii here, welcome back to the channel for another Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis video. So, today I'm going to be doing something that I do with games, usually after I've played them for a little bit of time, but it only ever really happens, I only ever really make these videos if I see public opinion going one way or another. And with this game lately, I've seen a lot of things that maybe some people would call hot takes, maybe some people would call constructive feedback, whatever. So I'm going to kind of go over what they are, and I kind of want to get from you guys what you think, right? Because the thing about like people speaking about their opinion on things, more often than not, when people are disgruntled or unhappy, that's when you generally hear most. So if there's people out there that have a different take on things, this video is the opportunity for you to kind of say your thoughts, right? And that's what I want. I want to see what you guys think, whether it be good, bad, ugly, whatever, right? So a few of the things I've been seeing lately is people, I think, I don't want to say harshly judging the game, because it's your opinion at the end of the day, right? And if it's coming from a place of, this is genuinely how I feel, then your opinion's 100% valid. There is this weird subset of people who like to put negative opinions into the world when they don't even ever have an intention of kind of playing the thing. It's like they like something else better, so this becomes bad. That type of opinion I've not really got much time for, because honestly I think it's a little bit meritless, right? But I'll talk about a couple of the things that I've seen popping up, and I'll say which I agree with and which I don't agree with, right? First of all, the grinding aspect. When it comes to grinding, drops could be better. I agree with that to a certain extent, because something like here, when you go and you start grinding and you do, for example, the nanocube stage, every single time you consume energy, in my opinion, it should drop these two. It shouldn't like maybe drop one or maybe drop the other. It should, for the amount of stamina you consume, for the difficulty of the level, you should be guaranteed every single run to get one of these each, I would actually say. People might argue with that. I think it should be one each, because there is people out there who are running this maybe 20, 30 times, and they're only getting half the amount of these that they actually need. For me, if this is going to be the highest difficulty level that's offered, then they should be guaranteed to drop, right? On here, I think the same. That should be your standard drop. It shouldn't be, it could drop this, it could drop this, it could drop this, because with the amount of difficulty this level's got, relative to where most people probably are, the amount of stamina it costs, you should be at least guaranteed to drop the top prize from it every single time. So, people that think that that needs to be improved, I'm not going to disagree with you there at all. I agree, it should be improved, right? I'm not saying they should up it to drop 2, 3, whatever, but what I'm saying is it should drop every time. I'm not saying give large amounts, just a minimum of one drop of each of these each time would make this stage a lot more fair. So people that have been saying that, I agree, right? 100% I agree. No any issues there whatsoever. The other thing is, and this is probably the one topic that's going to take up the entirety of the rest of this video, to be honest, because really it's, you can approach it from a couple of different points of view. People saying the game's boring, it's just the same thing over and over again. You go in, you set a party of 3, you beat the stage, you might need to do that for materials, you grind them, you might need to do that to level your characters, you grind them. Okay, the gameplay, that's what's called the gameplay loop, right? The gameplay loop is the same, hands down. There's no, you can't really argue with that. The gameplay loop is, you set up a team of 3 characters, you go in, you try and beat a stage. I'm just slightly confused at why people are annoyed at that, right? The reason I say that is because every single gacha game in existence, that is the gameplay loop. It'll establish its own form of gameplay. So whether it's, for example, Dislight, where you take on stages using your espers and your attack, yada yada yada, everything you do within that game thereafter uses that same gameplay formula. Some stages it might limit you to using 3 characters, sometimes it might limit you to using specific types of characters only, but the actual gameplay doesn't change. So whatever you do within the game is exactly the same. Dokkan Battle, every single stage you do is popping bubbles. Sure, the enemies might have different debuffs or buffs or weaknesses, but so does this game. That is games. Like, it's like Street Fighter. You play actual Street Fighter, not the gacha, actual Street Fighter. It's a 1v1 fighter. So obviously every time you play that, regardless of the mode, whatever, it's still going to be a 1v1 fighter. Okay, maybe in the future they'll mix it up and they'll add in tag fighting. It's ultimately not going to really change the gameplay all that much. It's still going to be a 2D, 3D quasi fighter, 1-on-1, you know, or 2-on-1 or 2-on-2 or whatever, right? This game is the same. Like, this game is a turn-based RPG gacha. You pick your teams, you go into battles. Those battles will have characters who are weak or strong against certain things. You tweak your loadout and you do the stage. I don't know what people want the game to do differently, and I get confused at why people would be saying it's the same thing over and over. Well, of course it is, because that's the game, right? I mean, again, are they looking for mini games, dating options? I don't really know how that's an argument that people have got against this game. I mean, I don't get paid to make this content, so it's absolutely not in my interests in any way, shape or form to defend it. It really isn't. Like, I couldn't care less. If people don't want to play it, don't play it. What I would say, however, is if you are playing Final Fantasy evercrisis and you think, oh, I don't like this gameplay loop, then that's the issue. The game's not the issue. You're the issue. You don't like this type of game. That's it. Plain and simple. Like, you don't need to try and find ways to like a game because people you know are playing it, people are talking about it, it's popular. I mean, that just happens. Like, I didn't really ever like Among Us. I was never a huge fan of Fall Guys. Just because it was popular, I didn't like force myself to play it or anything like that. It's the same with this. It's like, if you go into this game and you think it's too grindy, or you just keep doing the same thing all the time, fighting stages over and over again, that's what it is though. Like, it is a team-based, turn-based RPG gacha. You're going to do that. You're probably going to do that until the game enters end of service. Sure, there'll be new modes added where maybe you'll have to challenge increasingly difficult bosses and you'll have to learn to build lots of different variations of your teams or whatever. But that's not really going to change the core of what the game is. So I don't really know what people are actually expecting, and in my opinion, I feel like it's slightly unfair criticism that's getting levelled towards the game, because it is the game. Nobody's tried to hide that. Nobody's like tried to paint this out to be some 51 different types of game inside one game type thing. Like, it's not suddenly going to turn into Blitzball all of a sudden, where we've just got a whole season of being able to play that awesome ball game. I think it was called Blitzball, wasn't it? From Final Fantasy X. You're not going to magically get chocobo racing. Well, I mean, actually, you might. You could. Like, that actually could be something that they do. I mean, like, I'd be down for that. Like, if you could take your chocobo out and throw them into races against other players as a sort of a side game within the game, I would be down for that, right? I guess they could do that, but I wouldn't expect it, right? It's not something that I would expect, and you're not going to suddenly download Final Fantasy VII evercrisis because you want to do the chocobo racing, but that would always just be a distraction, right? A side questy type thing. So ultimately, I feel like that is unfair criticism towards the game. You do have to grind a lot, maybe more than you should because of drop rates and stuff like that, but I think that's something that can get addressed over time. I'm not too worried about that. But what I would say is, if right now you feel like this gameplay loop doesn't excite me, they need to make changes, they're not going to, because the actual gameplay loop is you doing stages with your free characters, loading out your team. That is the game. At its core, fundamentally, that'll probably never change. So to be playing the game in the hope it's going to change is maybe a little bit short-sighted, and it's the one bit of criticism I've seen going about that I just don't agree with. I can't really rationalise because I don't think it's got a lot of merit. However, people are still entitled to their opinion, you know. I want to know what you guys think. Is there anything like you've seen people saying that is maybe a little bit unrealistic or unfair? Let me know in the comments down below. Is there anything that you think constructively the game could be doing better outside of, I want to say, stamina, because it's been discussed, we know, right? Drops, which I've spoke about already. Summoning banners, we've already kind of spoke about that, but these are like standardised things that I think, at least I'd like to think, over time will settle down and get a little bit better anyway. But let me know your feedback. What do you think of the game so far? We're basically 2 weeks in now, not quite, but nearly. Drop your feedback in the comments down below. I want to hear it. I want to see what the community thinks. And I want to see really if it's just, for some weird, odd reason, there is people who, how do I put this? You just want to hate on it for the sake of hating on it. Which is fine if you want to be like that, I suppose, but it doesn't really make much sense to me. Anyway, let me know in the comments down below. I've been Hazink. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.